Everyday carry. Now, everyday carry is not a new concept. It is nearly as old as humanity itself. Ever since the advent of tools, whether it be simply a stone tool that was sharpened to a fine edge, or flint-knapped arrowheads and tomahawks, human beings have been finding ways to make sure that they have the necessary items they need on their person in order to engage with the world around them. And that's really the core of everyday carry. It's the items we personally deem necessary to have on our body in order to be adequately prepared to engage with the world around us. Also, as it pertains to the mind behind emergency preparedness, everyday carry is really the first layer of that preparedness. Now remember, one of the principal philosophies behind this channel is that context matters. So what we carry is often dictated by our occupation, our location, the laws in our region, and even our own personal preferences, and we'll get back to that more later. So what I want to do with this video is basically do a pocket dump, but utilize it as a means of showing you guys what I deem necessary in order to be adequately prepared to engage with the world around me. So what is my context? My context is I actually live abroad. Our region is somewhat rural with a bit of a suburban edge to it. And this context, both outside of the United States and in a somewhat rural location, has really changed what I carry on a day-to-day basis. There are things I could no longer carry due to certain legalities, and there are things that I now carry in order to fill the void of the things I can no longer carry. So we're going to take a look at what's in my pockets today, but we're going to use that as a launching board into why I carry those particular items. Quick note first, these kind of represent categories of items, as I tend to rotate my gear due to my personal preferences and likenings. And that leads me to a second note regarding the categories of things I carry. Typically, the things I carry fill certain roles that I feel like is necessary to have covered on my person. First and foremost is communication. Second is mobility. Third is utility. And fourth, protection. And there's some slight overlap in these gear items as to what they can be used for. But with that base covered, let's look at the stuff that I'm gonna call normie stuff that even people outside of the everyday carry community may actually have on their person. First thing is something I can't put on the table because it's actually right here, and that's my cell phone. Under that category of communication, obviously cell phone is the modern method of doing so. Personally, I have an iPhone 13 and maybe it's getting to the point in time where I have to upgrade soon. But it fulfills all my needs. It has my necessary contacts. It has apps that I like to be able to research certain things. And obviously it keeps me connected to my loved ones and the world around me. Secondarily, my keys. Pretty much everyone who has a car or has a house or has a place to live has a set of keys on them. Now, I used to carry my keys for everything on me everywhere, but I ended up sounding like a janitor coming down a hall. And I've found it hard to try to simplify my key carry system. I've used everything from the key bar to key smart, but personally for me, the best system to carry my keys is this right here, and that's the JRW Carry Commission Tough Clip. Now obviously it doesn't have to be the Carry Commission variant, even though I love the topo pattern, but this right here is the most simple, quick and easy, accessible way to carry my keys. I typically carry it right on my belt loop up front. It just slips right on using this hook right here, and it ends up staying real flush against my body, and if I put my shirt over it, it doesn't make too much noise while I'm walking around. Simple, easy, accessible, JRW gear, tough clip. So my cell phone covers the basis of communication, and obviously mobility is covered by my keys. Let's now step into the category of utility. And this tends to take up the largest portion of the everyday carry world. Things that could make us useful and helpful. These next two items are still kind of normie things. Some people may have them on their bodies, some people may not. But next up is a good old-fashioned bandana. Now I have some of the more fancy ones with the microfiber, but I tend to use these ones the most, just a simple cotton or whatever blend bandana. And the one that I carry on body is the one that will wipe off my glasses, blow my nose, wipe my hands off. This one pretty much does everything. And these ones get washed with my laundry every few days, so they stay clean. But 1,000,001 uses for a normal bandana, and that's part of my everyday carry, back left pocket. Last item in the kind of normie category is what's on my wrist right here. Today, I'm carrying the Eagle Ray by Phoebus. Awesome watch, inner rotating compressor style bezel so you can time things out, and you can do so without having to look at your phone. And I find that having a wristwatch on me just kind of keeps me one step further away from having to use my phone for every little thing. Plus, when you turn your wrist over and look at your watch for the time, it tends to be a little less offensive mid-conversation than pulling out your phone and looking at the time there. And with a normal analog wristwatch, you can do everything from time out how long you've been walking in a certain direction to even finding that direction. But even if it's not this watch right here, I always have a wristwatch on my wrist. Now we're kind of getting into the more specialized utility things that most EDC folks would find having in their pockets as opposed to the normies. And that leads me to my wallet. Now, my wallet personally is more than just a wallet. I actually like a pocket organizer where I could add a couple more tools and they're not just jingling around my pockets. And typically for me lately, it's been the Hitch and Timber Does All. If you're not familiar with Hitch and Timber, this maker has a great, incredible eye for detail, and everything I've gotten from them has been absolutely spectacular. Now, obviously, the first priority of a wallet is to carry your cards and your cash, and I do like a wallet solution where I could actually carry a good amount of cash because where I live, I end up going to smaller stores and markets, and cash is the only way that you could actually purchase things. But on the other side, including this pen loop, I'm able to carry a couple more items in order to be further prepared to engage with the world around me. And typically it's a setup like this. First and foremost, we got the Victorinox Tinker, and this is a specialized variant with Rips Garage Tech scales. I believe these are natural micarta. And the Victorinox Tinker tends to be one of my favorite pocket multi-tools. Has just about everything I need and nothing I don't. Next to that is a bit of a controversial item, and that is the Knipex Cobra XS pliers. I personally like this combo because if I ever have to drive with a flathead or a Phillips, but on the other side there's a bolt, these things come in perfectly. And I'm able to attack both sides of that bolt and that screw with these two tools. Whereas with a Leatherman, your pliers and your screwdriver are one tool. Now, in certain contexts, I will forego these and actually carry a Leatherman, but we'll talk about that context specifically in a later video. And one last quick note regarding carrying these two items versus carrying a Leatherman. Each of these items weigh about 2.2 ounces. So I'm carrying 4.4 ounces for this type of capability. And yet that's less than one of the most lightweight Leathermans, the Skeletal, which comes in at about 5 ounces. And my favorite Leatherman, the Leatherman Arc, comes in at a whopping 8.6 ounces. So this is almost half the weight of the Leatherman Arc. And yet I have most of the capabilities in a lighter weight package. And lastly, we got the pen. And the pen here is the Big Idea Design TI Mini Click. Awesome pen, great to have around you just to jot down notes, write down on the back of receipts, but we all know what you use a pen for. And this is obviously not a tactical pen, it's a practical pen. So that's my wallet setup. Now these next two item categories kind of blur the lines between utility and protection. Again, my context, I used to live in the United States, I no longer do. And when I was in the United States, I was a CCW holder, meaning I not only carried but was trained on a pew-pew. But the country that I live in now, as a temporary resident, I don't have that freedom. Say what you want about that whole situation I find myself in. All I know is that these items now have to fill a dual role. First item in that crossover category from utility to protection is a flashlight. And today it's the Nitecore M1TA Pro. Excellent little EDC flashlight. And these are the types of lights that I love to carry most. Those ones that have a great output to size ratio, very simple interface. And again, living in a rural setting, it gets dark out here. So whether I'm walking the dog or I'm looking around at night for certain sounds that I hear, a pocket flashlight comes in clutch. Last item, as you guys probably guessed, the knife. And today, carrying the CRK Umnumzan. Absolutely legendary blade. This one I bought secondhand via Blade Binge, not a sponsor, but awesome website to buy things on the secondary market. I then upgraded it with their titanium injection molded clip, which makes this an ergonomic dream in the hand. Again, CRK Umnumzan, awesome blade. Now those blurring of the lines between utility and protection of the last two items, obviously it's a bad day if I ever have to use these two things to defend my life and my loved ones. And if you live in the United States or a place where you could freely carry a pew-pew, I urge you guys to do so with training. But since I cannot, these two will have to fill the gap, which is why I like a light that's small enough to fit in the pocket, has a ridiculous amount of lumens and output, and has a very simple interface. And that's also why I've started carrying larger folding knives. I keep a larger folding knife clipped to my front right pocket and a flashlight clipped to my back left pocket, and have trained well enough to be able to reliably deploy and utilize these things as a means of protection in case of emergency. Remember, context matters. When I was in the United States, I didn't feel the need to have a big old bright flashlight on me as a means of self-defense because my everyday carry had a flashlight on it itself. And if I needed to look around for things, I just used my phone flashlight. And I typically didn't carry as big of a blade because I was using it more for cutting open Amazon packages and snacks for my kids and stuff like that. So I usually just had a Victorinox on me. But you see how when the context changes, it may reinterpret how you adequately are prepared to engage with the world around you. And that's something we should always keep in mind when we're looking at other people's everyday carry systems. Before we become critical, we should ask them their context and why they feel the need to carry what they carry. So let me play devil's advocate for a second and give you guys a bit of a counter perspective. And the question is, why do you carry all this stuff? Because technically speaking, I don't need all of these things to cover my categories of communication, mobility, utility, and protection. Technically speaking, all of those bases can be covered with these two items and a cell phone. Nowadays, with tap-to-pay systems and protocols, people don't even necessarily need a wallet on them, let alone a pen or a notepad, because they could just take notes on an app on their phone. In addition, the phone has a moderately decent flashlight for everyday carry needs, so the phone alone can consolidate a lot of the extra gear that we may carry. And then of course there's the keys. Obviously you need your keys on you, and maybe a small multi-tool which has a knife, has multitudes of other tools engaged in it, and the knife and plier combo that I carry can probably be replaced with a SOG power pint or a Leatherman Skeletal. So instead of carrying all of this randomness in your pockets, why not just consolidate to your phone, your keys, and a small multi-tool? But remember what I said at the beginning. I desire to feel adequately prepared to engage with the world around me. And if all I had on my person was my keys, my phone, and a small multi-tool, I don't know if I'd feel adequately prepared. I don't think a little Swiss Army knife blade like this would be adequate at self-defense. Couple notes in closing. You'll notice that I don't have bases covered like emergency medical or survival items, but those will be covered in a future vid when I cover my EDC carry bag. Also on some future vids, you're gonna see my urban on-body carry, and there's some big changes because there's some other considerations that end up weighing more heavily upon my ability to feel prepared for whatever the world around me may throw at me. But comment down below, what do you carry on your person every day and why? I am fully open to ideas and suggestions on how to improve my on-body everyday carry system. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more videos just like this. And feel free to follow me on Instagram @BeatsRhymesKnife. But until next time, peace.